Heart-wrenching, spine-chilling, and sometimes utterly unbelievable. The traumas these animals went through will bring you to the edge of crying. Stay with us as we take you through the inspirational journeys of animals given a second chance at life by some kind-hearted humans. Dog with a pumpkin head. No, this is not photoshopped. Meet Charlie, a homeless puppy with a pumpkin-sized head. In 2022, a kind woman saw him walking around the streets of Houston, Texas, but he looked miserable. Charlie's head was massive and swollen, and the weight of his head was dragging him down. He was only 10 months old at the time, and his head had grown like that because someone wrapped a shoestring around his neck as a collar, causing his neck not to grow. Thankfully, Houston K911 rescued him and took him to an animal hospital, where they found out that Charlie had 26 bullet shrapnel pieces in his leg. Despite all that he'd been through, Charlie survived and recovered at the hospital for a month. After that, he found a loving home, where he now lives a happy life with other dogs. ASHA, the rescued tigress. ASHA is a 9-month-old Bengal tiger with a heart-wrenching story. She was found in a traveling circus, living in poor conditions and suffering from wounds and bald spots. Her cage mate, a larger tiger, had been attacking her. Animal rights activists rescued ASHA and took her to the vet for medical treatment. Then she was taken to a wildlife rescue and education center, where she received care in a spacious, separate cage. 8 weeks later, her fur started to grow back on the bald spots, but it took much longer for her to fully recover. Today, ASHA is a healthy and happy tigress. She even has a kind friend, though she is much smaller than other tigers her age. Deer in distress. One day, a deer found himself in quite the predicament. He had a box on his head and couldn't see anything, thinking he was being stalked by a predator. But it turned out to be a man saving his life. The man managed to remove the box from the deer's head and set him free. The deer was so grateful and ran off into the wild, free as a bird. It's amazing how one act of kindness can make such a difference in someone's life. Dog rescued. One day in India, a man and his son were out on their scooters when they heard faint puppy cries. They soon realized that the sound was coming from a plastic pipe with a small hole in it. Without hesitation, the man and his son approached the pipe to investigate and found a scared little puppy stuck inside. With quick thinking, the man was able to push the puppy towards the hole while his son took the puppy out of the pipe. They decided to take the puppy home with them and provided it with a loving and caring home. This heartwarming story reminds us of the importance of being compassionate towards animals, and that even small acts of kindness can make a big difference. Grateful giraffe. Animal rights activists removed a thick metal ring with sharp edges from a live wild giraffe. This was no easy task, as the animal weighs up to 800 kilograms. Rescuers had to catch the giraffe and immobilize it, requiring a team of more than 10 people. Some held the giraffe's neck, while others kept its legs still. One man armed with a circular saw tried to cut the iron as neatly and quickly as possible. Despite the giraffe's unhappiness, the procedure was a success, and the ring was removed just in time before causing serious and irreparable damage to the animal's skin. Skunk with a jar. One winter day, a woman was walking in the snow when she saw a strange-looking creature in the distance. As she approached it, she soon realized that it was a skunk with a jar stuck on its head. The skunk was trying to get some food, but it ended up getting stuck. The skunk was clearly scared and unable to eat or drink due to the jar on its head. Thankfully, the woman acted quickly and managed to remove the jar from the skunk's head. If it weren't for her, the skunk would have likely died due to dehydration. Giselle rescued. Giselle was in grave danger when she was discovered by animal experts. She was evaluated on a 10-point scale and given a solid 1 due to her extremely malnourished condition. Her bones were visible under her mud-covered hide, and she could barely stand or take another step. The halter on her muzzle was partially embedded in her skin. Experts were afraid to give her food because her digestive system could fail. Giselle weighed only 306 kilograms, while a healthy horse of her size should weigh at least 500. But with water, delicious food, medical care, and safe shelter, Giselle's life was saved. After a couple of months, she was unrecognizable from her previous exhausted and unhappy state. Dehydrated zebra rescued. During an African safari, a group of people noticed a zebra lying on the ground. At first, they were afraid that the zebra had been shot by poachers. Upon closer inspection, they realized that the zebra was simply dehydrated and in need of water. The people quickly offered their own water to the zebra and managed to save its life. This story is a reminder of the importance of taking care of animals and the environment in which they live. Leaping leopard. You won't believe the story of this leopard. One day, the predator found itself at the bottom of a deep hole filled with freezing water. The rescuers tried using a log to help the leopard climb out, but the structure was too unstable. So they lowered a cage into the water, hoping the leopard would jump right in. And that's exactly what happened. The big cat was more than ready to get out of the water and back into the wild. After just a couple of hours, the leopard was released back into the wild. The predator didn't look particularly grateful, but let's face it, it is a leopard. Gotta keep that cool demeanor, right? Dog learned to walk again. One story that really touched my heart was about a dog named Georgie. He was hit by a car and left lying in the street, unable to stand or walk. When the rescue team found him, he looked so frustrated and confused. At the hospital, specialists examined Georgie and discovered that he had a trauma to his spine, which had caused serious nerve damage. They weren't sure if it would even be possible to help him walk again, but they decided to try. And guess what? They succeeded! Georgie learned to walk again and was so happy and relieved. He even seemed to be grateful to the people who saved his life. Spiders' resilience. Have you ever wondered what happens to spiders during floods? Well, they can't fly away, and they certainly can't rely on humans for help. Instead, spiders run from the rising waters. During the 2021 floods in Australia, a brown swarm of spiders covered the ground and everything in their path. Houses, fences, and trees. It sounds like someone's nightmare, but it's a reality. However, any high ground means a chance to survive, and spiders are not the only animals that try to escape from the water by climbing higher. Snakes, ants, skinks, and crickets all do the same. They don't care what kind of hill they have to climb, even if it's a human. The good news is that as soon as the water recedes, spiders and other creatures will quickly make their way away from people. Horse stuck. Picture this. Snow everywhere, and an unexpected sight of an old horse stuck in the snow. The poor horse, it tried hard to break free, but to no avail. Luckily, Raphael Pease, a snowboarder, came to the rescue. He spent hours digging and finally convinced the horse to follow him down the mountain to safety. Who knew a horse would take up skiing, right? But let's be honest, it's usually people who venture into the snowy mountains and face the dangers of avalanches. The snow becomes like concrete, and it's hard to move or even dig yourself out. But fear not, because avalanche rescue dogs are here to save the day. In 2013, a dog named Aruri helped his owner, a Welsh farmer, search for sheep buried under 12-foot snow drifts. Can you imagine digging through that much snow without any access to air? But Aruri didn't need any special equipment, just his nose and ears. He sniffed out the sheep and started digging. He repeated this at least 70 times until they found all the lost sheep. It just goes to show you that even ordinary dogs can be heroes too. Tiny kitten saved. Another rescue story that stands out to me is about a small kitten who fell down a 43-foot water well that was only 4 inches wide. Can you even imagine how scared that little baby must have been? When the Hope for Paws team arrived, the kitten had been stuck there for 4 days and was getting weaker and weaker. The specialists tried everything they could think of to rescue the kitten, including putting a camera down the well to see what was happening. Finally, they managed to grab the kitten with a loop and pull it out. The poor thing had spent 120 hours starving, freezing, and unable to move. But thanks to the rescuers, the kitten survived and is now safe and sound. Jackson, the brave Mastiff. Now, let's talk about Jackson, the brave English Mastiff who had an extremely tough time. One day, Hayden Howard from Indiana noticed strange marks on her beloved dog, Jackson. At first, she thought it was nothing, as Jackson often plays outside and she assumed they were just insect bites. But just to be sure, she decided to take Jackson to the vet. When the vet shaved Jackson and examined his body, she burst into tears. It turned out that Jackson's body was full of metal pellets, meaning the markings weren't insects, but bullets. These pellets were all over his body, and one was even near his eye, which could have caused him to go blind. Luckily, the vet was able to remove 27 pellets from his body. The police eventually took over the case, but we are so glad Jackson made it through, and he now lives a happy life. Boonrod, the brave survivor dog. Meet Boonrod, the bravest dog you'll ever come across. This good boy had a rough time a year ago when he was found clinging onto the metal beams of an oil rig off the coast of Thailand. Without hesitation, the workers lifted the dog to safety and offered him food, which he ate hungrily. The workers named him Boonrod, meaning survivor in Thai, and put him on an oil tanker to take him back to land. It's still a mystery how Boonrod ended up so far from the coast. Fortunately, Boonrod's struggle came to an end. One of the rescuers even adopted him, and he now lives a happy and carefree life. Rich Turtle. Bank, the sea turtle, had been living in a zoo, and over the years, humans had thrown coins into his pond. Bank ended up eating the coins, and they formed a mass inside of him, weighing 11 pounds. One day, the mass cracked Bank's shell, and a nearby doctor in Bangkok, Thailand, operated on him, successfully removing all of the coins. However, Bank later had to have another surgery, but sadly, she passed away from complications. This story reminds us to think twice before throwing coins in ponds and consider the consequences that it may have on the animals living there. Dindim the penguin. João de Souza is a 71-year-old widower from Brazil. One day, he found a poor penguin washed up on a beach, covered in oil and fighting for its life. The old man washed, fed, and nursed the penguin before trying to release it. The man named it Dindim for the time being. He didn't know that the penguin wouldn't leave his side after being treated because he didn't expect penguins to be attached to humans. To his surprise, Dindim had decided who was going to be his future friend. The man nursed the bird back to health ever so gently before releasing him back to the wild. Ever since then, Dindim has traveled back to the coast of Rio de Janeiro to be with João for at least 8 months a year. Sick dog and her pups. The Mladenovac Dog Rescue Center in Serbia came across a sick dog with 5 puppies living in an abandoned house. The mother was suffering from a severe form of dermodex, and her puppies had a weaker form of the same illness. The family was immediately taken to the shelter, washed, and treated for parasites. After a long period of treatment and care, the mother and her puppies were finally healthy enough to be adopted into loving homes. It was a happy ending for a family that had been through so much hardship. Rescued whale. You won't believe what happened to this killer whale. This wild animal found itself in a bit of a pickle when it got stuck between some rocks at low tide. Luckily, some locals stumbled upon the orca and quickly spread the word to other animal lovers. A crowd gathered on the shore, but fortunately, nobody had the equipment needed to lift a 3-ton beast out of harm's way. So, the group had to get creative. They covered the whale's body with damp rags and began pouring water on it. Witnesses reported that the whale let out a groan of relief when it felt the moisture on its skin. The people worked tirelessly for 8 long hours, but in the end, it was all worth it. When the water level rose again, the killer whale swam back out to sea, happy and healthy. What an amazing sight! Hungry fox. In Russia, during an extremely cold day, a fox was spotted by a man who noticed that it looked scared and hungry. Despite the fox's fear of approaching humans, it had no other choice due to the freezing temperatures. The man had only a Snickers bar with him, and without hesitation, he offered it to the fox. To his amazement, the fox took the chocolate bar and walked away, happily satisfied. This kind act towards the fox reminds us of the importance of showing compassion towards all living beings, no matter how small or different they may seem. Shark nets. Are they really worth it? We have to admit that humans cause many problems for animals. Take, for instance, the use of shark nets near beaches to prevent shark attacks on people. These nets can't guarantee 100% safety, and they often trap unintended animals, such as sea turtles, stingrays, dolphins, and even whales. Fortunately, people try their best to rescue them. In 2019, a 26-foot whale was caught in the net, and it took 3 hours to set it free. Imagine a 26-foot whale. It's like a medium-sized school bus. Usually, whales are set free, but sometimes certain laws prevent their release, and they remain trapped. Animal advocates say that these nets not only hurt marine life, but also leave them with deep cuts. Tangled seals. Marine animals getting tangled up in fishing nets and other debris is a huge problem. But thanks to brave divers like the ones in this story, there's hope for these creatures yet. 2 divers rushed to help when they heard that some seals were in trouble. Seals can be aggressive, so it was a dangerous mission. But the divers were determined to help. Using a scoop net, they managed to catch the tangled seals and gently started to cut the ropes. Finally, the seals were free and able to swim away. Mange-stricken dog. It breaks my heart to think about all the dogs that have to live on the streets, especially when they're sick or injured. That's why I love hearing stories like this one about a dog named Miley. Miley was living on the streets and suffering from mange, a parasitic skin disease that can be deadly if left untreated. Despite her condition, Miley was trustful and even let the doctors examine her without moving. She needed a lot of time to recover, but she was in good hands. While in the hospital, Miley met a little guy named Frankie, who had been rescued from a drain pipe and was really scared. Trapped in a freezing river. Winter can be tough on animals, especially when it comes to staying warm and finding food. In one case, a beautiful wolf found himself trapped in a freezing river, struggling to keep his head above water. Luckily, a rescue team arrived just in time to save him from certain death. Unfortunately, the wolf was in such bad shape that he went unconscious, and the rescuers had to take him to the hospital. With a lot of care and attention from the doctors, the wolf slowly but surely started to get better. After spending some time in the hospital, he was finally released back into the wild. Tragic tale of tangled badger. Saving animals is a noble endeavor, but it's not always easy or without risks. In one tragic incident, a poor badger got tangled in a rope that children had been using for swinging. The wildlife aid team received a call for help and rushed to the scene, but the badger wasn't so keen on being rescued. In the struggle, one of the rescuers even broke a rib. Despite their best efforts, the badger's paw was in such poor condition that it had to be put to sleep. It was a sad reminder that sometimes, even our best efforts can fall short. Lucky hedgehog. It's not every day that you find a hedgehog in a swimming pool, but when one woman did, she knew she had to act fast. The poor little guy had fallen in and was struggling to get out on his own. Without hesitation, the woman dove into the pool, scooped up the hedgehog, and returned him to the safety of the garden. It was a lucky case that she found him when she did, because the hedgehog could have easily drowned. Kind man and abandoned kitten. one man's trash is another man's treasure. And in this case, it couldn't be truer. A man who spent most of his time picking up scraps to earn extra income for his family stumbled upon an abandoned kitten one day. The poor little thing had been thrown away like a piece of garbage, and the man knew he had to do something. He took the kitten home, washed it, and left it in his house to recover. Without his intervention, who knows what could have happened to the poor little kitty? That's it, guys. I will see you again with another video. But until then, check out my other videos.